This broadcast is brought to you by Sherdog.com and is part of our 24-hour radio marathon to support Javier Vasquez as he beats colon cancer. To donate, please visit tiny.cc/tapcancer. That's tiny.cc/tapcancer. Please help Javier and his family in this time of need. The following podcast is a TJ DeSantis production. Comments, questions, and inquiries can be sent to DeSantisProd@gmail.com. The following is a special broadcast exclusively from the Sherdog Radio Network, SRN. You're getting beat down after the bell. The money fight. Mayweather Vs McGregor. Floyd Money Mayweather. From T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's Beatdown After the Bell. Here's your host, TJ DeSantis.
Fresh off a 24-hour marathon to support Javier Showtime Vasquez, I know I'm a little bit sleep deprived. I know that I'm seeing things that aren't necessarily there out of my periphery. But I think I just saw Conor McGregor take like 5 rounds off of Floyd Money Mayweather, at least in my uneducated boxing minds. Hey everybody, TJ DeSantis, along with Jordan Breen, who's connecting to us via Skype. Also in studio, Gary Randall, longtime boxing insider, I guess I'm going to call you, Gary. Anthony Walker here as well. First, as always, the cornerstone to our roundtables, the staple to this Beatdown After the Bell. It is Jordan Breen. Jordan, I really thought that Conor McGregor was having his way for at least 4-5 rounds in this fight against Floyd Mayweather. How much of that was Conor McGregor effectively boxing compared to Floyd Mayweather maybe just sticking to the game plan, it sounds like?
Well, TJ, as we're seeing in the immediate wake and post-event discussion after something like this is a fight that it's built on extremes. It's built on the margins. It's built on the intense polarity. Black, white, Irish, American, MMA, boxing, their personalities, all these kinds of things, they're, like I said, they're the extremes of things. What's funny is that this is a nuanced case, I think, because the answer to your question is little column A, little column B. I think it's very obvious when you see how little Floyd attempted to counter and in general, how he operates, knowing that there was no real boxing tape on Conor McGregor outside of Paulie Malignaggi and the noodle arms and his terrible heavy bag routine he did his open workout, didn't really know what to expect. So it was fair to reason that Mayweather probably wasn't going to be a dynamo in round one, period. But I think Conor showed a surprising level of boxing acumen. We can make fun of the standing hammer fist, which will forever be identified with this fight, I think. But for the most part, the way he worked his jab, his timing, and his ability to really catch Floyd sleeping at some points and surprise him over the first 9 minutes, it was legitimately very impressive.
Hey,
no question about it.
I want to talk about the hammer fist, and I guess no better person to talk about it would be someone who's been consumed by boxing for most of his life, Gary Randall. Gary, Conor was definitely throwing the hammer fist. They were definitely landing to the back of the head. But I feel like Floyd Mayweather deserves some sort of fault in that because, I mean, the way
that was not at all initiated really by Conor. Floyd was putting himself in that position. I mean, just like when Floyd would out of nowhere turn around and all of a sudden, kind of cower and give his butt to Conor, and Conor kind of even looked at the ref like, well, what do I do with this?
Right.
You know what I mean? The guy's like not fighting me. He's kind of stalking me. And now he's doing that. You know, it was a little strange. It was a little actually kind of out of character.
It's very difficult for me to sort of wrap around my head that there are punches in boxing that are illegal. Okay, to me, you're boxing. You're fighting with your hands. Okay, if your opponent turns his back to you or ducks, I think you should be allowed to hit him. Can you hit him in the back of the head? No, probably not. I don't believe that.
Well, you certainly can because in the co-feature, Gervonta Davis, Mayweather's understudy, won with a rabbit punch.
Yeah, he did.
So maybe Conor was just maybe he caught the co-main.
Yeah, I mean,
but I honestly I don't think Conor. I mean, let's just put this out there. The reffing was so clearly biased from from the stare down on that it was like it was so uncomfortable for me to watch that. And to see that so, just blatant and out there, I mean, that was obviously Bird went rogue.
Yeah, I mean, that was the longest introduction for the fight. For the ref to talk
it was
that long explaining the rules. I mean, and looking dead at him the entire time. His head did not turn once to look at Mayweather. I mean, that was pretty clear that the ref was definitely a Floyd fan.
He said, "I will not grapple or wrestle with you."
Yeah, it's like, really?
Okay? Like, I mean, we were talking
he literally,
about...
he got briefed like 10 seconds before, you're going to introduce this guy.
We were
just start the damn fight already.
We were talking about it in studio here. Like, the final instructions also included, like, Conor McGregor being grounded for 2 weeks. Like, it was so stern, I didn't quite understand
I've never seen that before in boxing. A ref kind of, go rogue and grandstand like that and clearly, show that he's not prepared. He actually was not mentally prepared to ref this fight. I mean, that's kind of what was put out there.
What bothers me, and I want to get Jordan your thought on this. Jordan, you have spent the last X amount of months discussing this in every facet we have available to us, whether it be in print, whether it be in podcasts, radio spots, interviews, all sorts of things. This has been built up for so long. I never really felt that it was MMA versus boxing. I didn't feel that it was sport versus sport. Yes, a UFC champion is coming over to the boxing realm. It is what it is. This is MMA's version of the James Toney situation, but did you ever at any point feel like this was sport versus sport? And if not, did you start to feel that it was when the stare down started to happen in the center of the ring? Because that's when I started to feel like, oh man, I need to be defensive. What were your thoughts, Jordan?
I never really necessarily felt like it was boxing versus MMA. I think my feeling was pretty much in line with Gary's, because Robert Byrd is typically a good referee. And the irony of this is that McGregor's camp lobbied not to have Kenny Bayless do this fight because they thought that he was unduly preferential and showed favoritism towards Mayweather in the Maidana rematch. So when I heard, Robert Byrd's pre-fight instructions, I expected them to end on 3 separate occasions, and he just kept babbling. And I thought, oh, this can't be good. And yeah, you could tell he was caught in this weird position of wanting to be hands-off, but this was obviously not the right fight for it. I brought up on the round table that there was that famous, hilarious incident in the Jose Luis Castillo first fight where Mayweather turns away and Castillo rabbit punches him and then starts punching him in around the ears. And I think it's Vic Draculich who's refereeing. He just does nothing. He just stands there. And this isn't a fight where Mayweather was deducted points for elbowing. And famously, Mayweather turns around and Castillo's just like, hey, can you believe that shit? And Mayweather's like, no, man, I can't. And they both smile at each other and bump gloves over how bad Vic Draculich's refereeing was. That's what I expected to happen here. That one particular extended beatdown where Mayweather's in the bomb position turned away from McGregor and eats 10 punches, I could not believe what I was seeing.
Hey, Gary, help me out here. I mean, obviously, I watch a lot of mixed martial arts. I understand what a stoppage should look like in MMA when a fighter is still standing and no longer intelligently defending themselves. What did you think about this stoppage, and was it justified?
Oh, it was 100% justified. I actually, we were watching. I scored, what was it? It was stopped in the 10th round?
10th round,
10th round. Okay, so I scored the 9th, the 10-8 round for Floyd. And I thought, I said out loud in the room, I said that his corner shouldn't let him go out for the next round.
Did you think he was that hurt, though? Because
it was plainly obvious that he had he was no longer going to be able to defend himself from that point forward. To his credit, I loved Conor's speech when it was done, and I think and Conor comes from a sport where guys get that fatigued and come back from that,
right?
And that's rarely seen in boxing. So that just might be one of those kind of crossover situations where boxing fans might not understand. Yeah, dude, MMA guys actually kind of come back from being that fatigued, and you just don't get to see that in boxing. It was a justified stoppage. I mean, Conor was a sitting duck. He was a sitting duck at the end of the previous round, but you do have to consider, and you have to understand MMA to understand this. And for those that don't understand MMA, just look at Conor's second fight against Nate Diaz, and you'll see that it was actually part of the plan to gas at a specific point and come back at a specific point in that fight. Boxing fans don't understand that. That's so rare. A strategy, or even used in the mental capacity of fighting, that they're not going to understand that guys can come back from that, from being that fatigued and get recharged, literally have their second wind.
You know, when you look at Conor McGregor will be remembered for a lot of things when his career is done. Tonight is definitely one of those things, but one of the more undervalued, underrated things that Conor McGregor does, this is the weirdest thing to say, but I believe it's true, and I think this is what makes Conor McGregor so great, is he loses really well. When he loses a fight, he says all the right things in the post-fight interview, and he rebounds very quickly. He literally looked like he was a dude out there that was making $100 million and having the time of his life. Yeah, maybe he got his ass kicked a little bit in the latter parts of the fight, but it didn't break him. It didn't break his spirit. And I don't know. I just think that is one quality you have to have if you're going to have a prolonged career with ups and downs. Conor McGregor is unbeatable sometimes, but when he is beatable, you can't even beat him there because he can lose with the best of them in a roundabout way.
Yeah, you talk about a guy who handles defeat as graciously as you ever could imagine. For a guy who brags and boasts and is so boisterous in the build-up to all his fights, approaches everything with humility, including his wins and losses, and that's a marvelous thing right there. We don't see that too often, and I think that has to be especially striking for some boxing fans. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, Gary. But I know in boxing, you take a loss and it's like a huge black eye on you. And in MMA,
wasn't always like that, man. But I mean, it's kind of become that. It's that whole debate of, hey man, a guy with 9 losses in MMA is really not considered the same thing as a guy with 2 losses. In boxing and MMA, it really doesn't matter because it can be
so many ways to lose.
On any given night. And that guy with nine losses can easily find a stride and become a champion and reign. So yeah, I mean that. Conor's 0-1 in boxing.
Really?
Against
he's
one of the greatest fighters of all time.
He's 0-1 and walked away a huge.
And I think he
tonight.
delivered on his promise. And I think that's really the most important thing as far as Conor's brand and the attachment of MMA, because I will tell you guys this. From day one, this was MMA versus boxing. And the reason for that...
To who, though?
To who?
To a lot of people.
To the absolute audience that Conor meant to be perceived. And I'll tell you why. When Conor issued out his challenge, okay, and Floyd accepted that challenge.
Right.
Conor did something that had never been done before. He was a prime champion that risked everything to go against another. And I think even at 40, you can call Floyd a prime champion. I mean, come on, man.
His 40 is the average guy's 23.
Yeah, he just, it was prime champion, a young prime champion, crossing over and taking the risk. That's what made boxing great. And that's what's making MMA greater. And I really dig it. I'm all for it. I think that this isn't the first time. This isn't the last time that we're going to see now a prime champion cross over and give it a shot. And hopefully we see that on the other end as well. Hopefully we see a couple of boxers come over and give it a try. You know what? Because not everyone's going to go out like James Toney against Randy Couture. Someone's going to come in. Hey, there's a lot of MMA fighters out there right now. Cody, I'll tell you right now, Cody has a background in boxing. Why do you think he's so successful? Come on, man. Look at his fight against Dominic Cruz.
Sure. That's fine. I mean, great head movement by Cody Garbrandt. You're right. I'll give you that.
Boxing can win big fights.
But boxing can't win mixed martial arts fights. You're not going to get a crossover from a top-shelf boxer who has never grappled, who has never played jiu-jitsu.
But we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, you'd almost think Tim Sylvia, 2-time UFC heavyweight champion, didn't get absolutely clattered by Ray Mercer, who'd already lost to Kimbo in an exhibition match.
Yeah,
guillotine choked by Kimbo Slice.
But Ray Mercer was 65 years old when he fought. You know what I mean? Come on, man.
I don't know if you know this. Ray Mercer knocked out Tim Sylvia in an MMA
fight.
fight.
I know that.
Okay.
I do know that. I've seen the tape of it. But even then, I mean, I think Ray was 45 and
but
clearly long time inactive.
My point,
don't forget, man. The company that bought my website managed Ray Mercer.
That's true. I learned about that in the Science of
Violence. And Ray
was
one bitter dude, man.
Can I just say, though? Can I just say, though?
Ray stories.
I think that this was a moral victory tonight for, if you want to say mixed martial arts, Conor McGregor, whoever.
For the fan.
Right, sure, fine.
For the fan.
But that moral victory is much more unattainable the other way around, where a boxer is in the octagon. You're going to have a mixed martial artist stand in front of a boxer for prolonged periods of time in an MMA fight and allow that fighter to get into it. Randy Couture hit an ankle pick, a low ankle pick on James Toney.
He said I dusted off my single leg takedown, and I brought it out, and I that was the plan. Listen,
Conor McGregor doesn't stand with Floyd Mayweather in an MMA fight, and Conor McGregor doesn't take people down, or he stands on the outside and just peppers his body with knees and kicks and spinning attacks. But I still think that he would clown him.
I can't say what you're saying won't happen. But what I can say is that it hasn't happened yet, and it's going to happen.
We're going to see a top-shelf boxer come into mixed martial arts.
I think the money is about to be right. This lifted and started something that what do you think? Do you think that the economy of this is going to end with this fight?
Well, here's the thing.
This opens a door that's never been opened.
I think there are going to be a lot of refunds here tonight for this pay-per-view. Because what fight did we finally get it working in here?
We got it toward the end of the Tank Davis fight.
Yeah, we went so long without this thing working on a variety of platforms.
We did not have a problem at Bruce's house.
Yeah, but you guys were using cable, right?
Yeah.
So if you're a cord cutter, which we have no cable here, we have to do everything online.
You guys didn't order it through UFC.com or ShowtimePayPerView.com?
It didn't work on either of those.
ShowtimePPV.com was apparently all geared up.
All of them were down for periods of time tonight. All of them.
I'm going to give a plug here to the guys from Fight TV because you guys put on really good online pay-per-views on your apps.
There was lots of people having cable issues as well. Old Dick Vitale had a multi-tweet meltdown about his local cable provider.
I can't see it, baby!
Him and his own personal diaper dandies were not pleased. He appeared to have every child in his family over for the big fight and just dropped a multi-tweet barrage all over some weird cable provider I'd never even heard of, but yet got full excoriation from Dickie V.
Was it King Vision?
No, I mean I can obviously.
That was Don King's thing, right? That was a boxing joke. Why did I get no love? I'm not a boxing guy. I'm making boxing jokes here. Come on. Hey, Jordan.
King Vision hasn't been a thing in 20 years. And also, King Vision sounds suspiciously like something that would just be a random cable provider.
It's true. A for effort. Come on, please. Hey, Jordan, Gary thinks that the economy has changed a little bit. You think that any boxer's going to come over to the UFC and command, multiple millions of dollars in their mixed martial arts debut?
It was Frontier Corp, by the way. Frontier Communications is apparently Dickie V's cable provider. Nonetheless.
Well, that's my cable provider, by the way.
I know Frontier has a really bad rated airline. So I can't say anything about their cable.
No, it's not the same company. I will say, though, that their internet is super awesome and fast. But the infrastructure was the issue tonight. Jordan, same question, though. Do you think the economy changes a little bit for anyone other than Conor McGregor if he goes back to the octagon?
Yeah, but I don't know that it's a two-way street, and that's why I think you may get some boxers who, for whatever reason, maybe feel froggy, but it would have to be a mid-level boxer. I wanted to go kick it old school and make a Kermit Cintron joke.
Right.
But
that's really
in
old school.
actuality, Kermit Cintron, someone his profile back when he was I could beat Sean Shirk. I wrestled in high school. All right, cool, bro. So did I. Like good for you, bro. Go dive out of the ring again to save yourself. Nonetheless, it would have to be someone like Kermit Cintron. You would have to get someone who is a really respectable boxer and is a legitimate world-class fighter and
Danny
probably
Garcia
has an alphabet title, but isn't someone that's pulling down multi-millions of dollars because the nature of boxing promotion is one that you can typically probably afford yourself a whole lot more money, a whole lot more say in the matter, your own sponsorship deals. I mean, if you're a boxer, what, you're going to go wear Reebok in the UFC?
No.
Ditch all that money? That's insane.
No.
However, I do think what Gary says plays. I mean, look at people who've wanted to do this thing for years. Look at the kissing cousins relationship between Conor McGregor and the Diaz fam jam. For years, I mean, if we had this kind of sort of Brave New World years ago, it may not have been so laughable when the Diaz brothers talked about wanting to pro box on the side and that sort of thing. So I do think there is much to be said for people who want to test themselves and have that kind of greater control promotionally and in terms of agency with the kind of money they can make and how outside of the UFC and follow in Conor's footsteps. But the kind of boxer that would probably be inclined to do mixed martial arts or like a UFC fight or something like that, you're probably looking at, top 50 to 100 pound for pound guys, not top 10 pound for pound guys, more than likely. But I do think that there is
top 20.
There's legitimate leverage.
Top
now
20, not top 100. Top 20.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines of somebody career arc is somewhere like Adrian Bronner, who seems to lose the big fights.
Great example.
But it's still a big enough name that you can slot him in there and get some eyeballs.
You're going to have to put him against someone, though, that is going to stand and trade. You can't put him in there with a straight-up
Who's 135 champion?
135 is Cody Garbrandt.
That's who he'd fight. Broner can make 35.
So would you have Broner fight Cody Garbrandt for the UFC Bantamweight Championship?
I think that was an excellent example of the type of top 20. I mean, he's coming off a loss. Okay, he hasn't had a good 3 years running.
Right.
But he brings in, and he proves he brings in ticket dollars, and he brings in pay-per-view numbers. He's had a lot of exposure. So it would be worth it if the UFC wanted to give him, $2-3 million, and if he's not commanding that from his promoter, or that somehow meets the minimum, and he wants to stay active.
All right,
it could happen.
Let me ask you this:
what a clash of personalities, too. I mean, you think Mayweather Vs McGregor was an obnoxious fight build? Holy shit! Well, the trash-a-thon. Like, just Cody Garbrandt, as I say this right now, Cody Garbrandt continues his veiled racist insanity against Aljamain Sterling on Twitter. Cody Garbrandt and Adrian Broner would just be a race to the bottom of humanity in terms of a fight build.
Hey, can I say we're never going to get a fight build like this ever again?
No.
We're just not going to.
The reason why I don't think you can, I think we are, is I think this
we're
opened
gonna
the
get
door.
That circus.
This opened a door that's never been opened.
Now, it opened a door, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be as grand of a show the next time around. Because what we have to see is two guys in the opposing sports that are, so great, so lauded, so loved or hated by their respective fan bases, and they are interested in one another. And that's what has to happen. So you got to have two megastars, doing the same thing at the same time.
Now that it's happened, it's going to happen more.
But yeah, I mean, granted, maybe we will see Anthony Joshua and Stipe, but nobody's going to care about it the way they cared about this because those names just don't command that level of attention.
They would.
All right, let me set the table here real quick, and then we can move on. I have a question for Jordan. First off, this is Beatdown After the Bell on the Sherdog Radio Network of Mayweather Vs McGregor. I'm TJ DeSantis, along with Anthony Walker, Gary Randall hanging out in studio, and Jordan Breen beaming in via Skype. When this fight was first talked about in March of last year, April, I remember somebody from WrestleZone called me and asked if this was a possibility, and I said I didn't think so. And the reason I said I didn't think so is because in my head, the Nevada Athletic Commission is not going to let a mixed martial artist box the best boxer of our generation in his debut. Clearly, I was wrong. Money solves everything.
Right. Imagine even adding to that, letting them do it in an 8-ounce glove.
Well,
changing the rules for it.
Here's my question.
In the interest of science, keep that in mind. It's all about science.
Well, if it's for research, we're good. Jordan, let me ask you this. Do you think we're more likely to get a denial of licensure to a boxer coming into mixed martial arts who has never done MMA before because there are more weapons? I mean, boxing, it's more scientific when it comes to striking than MMA. But to me, boxing for the first time is a lot less dangerous than having to worry about someone kicking you upside the head with a shin.
Who's promoting the fight?
The Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Then it could be me and you. I'm on top of your shoulders like Master Blaster and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and we're fighting Stipe Miocic.
All right, let me ask you this.
It could be what it does not matter.
Even outside of Nevada?
Is the UFC promoting it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want.
All right. I mean,
TJ, was Mark Hunt Butterbean a mismatch for Pride 32?
Of course it was, and you're right. And that was the real deal, wasn't it?
Was it the kind of mismatch? Was it the kind of mismatch the UFC would have got pushed through, whereas Pride weren't allowed to stage it?
Probably. I mean, it was in Vegas.
You really think the UFC wanted to do Butterbean Mark Hunt tomorrow, that they couldn't do it in Nevada?
You're right. I mean, okay. So
and here's the thing. They'll make it up as they go along, because I brought this up on the roundtable. Andre Ward a few years ago, when he was supposed to fight Rowan Murdoch, the Nevada Athletic Commission went, "Who the hell's Rowan Murdoch? We've never heard of this guy. You can't fight him." And Andre Ward's like, okay, all right, just go get someone else, I guess. But now, if Andre Ward wanted to probably fight whoever the hell he wanted in Nevada, probably go for it. These people just care about making money. That's it.
Well, you asked me the question.
They're a self-funded commission.
You asked me the question, Jordan, is it the UFC promoting it? Okay, what if it's not? What if it's I don't know, the RFA? They want to put something.
RFA? You mean the UFC? Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay, so what if it's Bellator? Well, no, Bellator will get it done too. What if it's Wild Bill's Fight Night?
Well, Wild Bill's Fight Night, if they have a product coming out of the hottest club and bar in Georgia, if they have a product that's going to make Nevada or whatever commission it might be that money,
right,
they're going to do it, especially if they're a self-funded commission the way that Nevada is.
You got to make that paper. Makes the world go round. There are going to be some lasting effects from this fight. Mayweather or McGregor Sports and Entertainment's a thing. Does that have legs?
Boxing?
Zuffa Boxing?
No.
No? I mean, help me out here, because I mean, obviously
those guys won't dig being in the promoter business. That's in my opinion set up for when this starts happening a little bit more.
Okay.
When you start putting, they just realized a new revenue stream. Listen, does McGregor care about his boxing record really all that much if it's 0-1 and he goes back to UFC and just defends his title and that's how it's left? No. And if the opposite were to happen as well, it's the same thing. This is only going to happen more, and that's set up for when the opportunity comes, which will start.
It's like getting ahead of the paperwork, you think?
Yes.
Got it. Jordan, what does this mean for Floyd Mayweather? I mean, he didn't want to talk about 50-0. He was awkward about it, to say the least. He rides off into the sunset. I mean, is he the best ever in your eyes?
No. I'd still give that to probably Sugar Ray Robinson, Henry Armstrong, or Roberto Duran. He'd definitely make my top 5. And I think there's there's an argument to be made for sure, but there's still people I would put ahead of him in historical context. But that's an incredibly rarefied air, and he's made more money than all of them.
So we spent $200 in studio tonight to try to get this pay-per-view to work, and
wow.
I mean, we'll get a refund. I'm sure we'll get a refund. Honestly, I mean,
I hope we get a refund.
Yeah, I hope we get a refund too. It's our money.
I'd like to see the correspondence actually.
Yeah, I mean, I can record the phone call. But my question, and I'll throw it to you, Anthony, is when I looked at this fight, looked at the price point, looked at the pay-per-view $100, I thought there's no way that this fight will live up to that price point. You're just setting yourself up for failure. You're going to have Mayweather Pacquiao all over again. I don't think that's the case. I think this was worth $100. I don't think it was worth the $200 that you and I paid, Ant, but I think it was worth $100.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, because I've thought it to myself, I guess 49 times I would, buy a Mayweather pay-per-view, and, damn it, he did it to me again. When you see he's totally outclassed somebody and it's just not even exciting to watch, Just nothing there to it. And then I quickly lose interest. But this time, like, wow, this was so historic. We are not going to see this magnitude happen again for a very long time. We might see more crossovers, but we're not going to see it like this. This was special. Gary and I talked right before the broadcast started, and we were both saying, "Hey, I was shaking. Like, my heart was beating fast. I was losing feeling in my feet."
I didn't even feel like that for the Pacquiao fight.
Yeah, I mean, this felt like something magnificent that we were watching, and it's so rare that we get that. And really, to everybody who is so busy, I mean, Twitter right now is just a firestorm of boxing purists right now who are doing their best to just piss on everything Conor did.
Really?
And, it's ridiculous.
I'm sure I haven't seen it. I mean, they're out there.
That's just damage control then, right? Because Conor McGregor overexceeded.
But at the same time, it's so ridiculous.
He won more rounds since Miguel Cotto. No one else has won that many
What's so
rounds.
ridiculous about that is that in the end, we all win. We saw a great fight. We were all thoroughly entertained. We saw Conor defy expectations. We saw Floyd rise to the moment. We saw a lot of great things in one night that we will not see duplicated anytime soon. Let's enjoy it for what it is. Let's appreciate what we saw instead of trying to tear it down and trying to shit on the accomplishments of a guy who really risked it all, risked a great career. Then Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor risked a career?
Yes.
He didn't need a career after making the money he made tonight.
No, he risked. He risked. If he went in there and looked like a clown,
he risked everything he's built up thus far.
He
put that.
His mystique would have been
ultimately, gone. If he gets starched in 30 seconds, it's not that. The whole thing's not that big of a deal in a month or two.
Right.
But he did take that leap at the height of everything. I mean, he
I'll literally take a leap off.
There was no tune-up here, man.
I'll literally
he went right for it.
If you give me $100 million, I will literally take a leap off a great.
I think Conor was worth every penny tonight.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, I agree. Jordan Breen, was he worth 100 of your Canadian dollars?
Yeah. I mean, this is a moment that transcended sport. This is a pop culture event. Like, there's a reason Steve Harvey's trending on Twitter. This is an event that's so big that lay people watched it and still got a kick out of watching the host of Family Feud absolutely lose his mind on camera.
Are we going to break this down a decade and 2 months later from tonight, Breen, and have a different feeling than we do right now?
Oh, well, I mean, we'll probably have a different feeling because one of the things we're discussing is that this is a new frontier for mixed martial arts and definitely reorients the balance of power that a major superstar in the UFC can have. So, a decade from now, we may look at the fruit of this moment and like what it's born, the kind of fruit that it's born and think, wow, I mean, we have to look at it differently now. This was a bellwether moment for combat sports where things were one way and now they're another. So we may just inevitably have to think of it a different way. But I don't think the general takeaway of McGregor being, at least early on, a far better boxer than anyone would have really believed, I think that will stay fairly concrete. That will be a takeaway that doesn't really get tarnished or diminished or anything like that. I think sanity will reign in that way, but we'll probably have to think of it differently because it probably will be the dawn of a new era, or at least something that other people can try to replicate. If nothing else, McGregor set a precedent. So in a precedent-setting moment, one that is so big, so famous, so spectacular in the most literal sense, we'll probably have to think of it differently in 10 years, but it won't be us saying like, Conor actually didn't do shit out there.
I'm sitting here thinking about what would have to happen for another UFC fighter to come over and get into the boxing realm and
probably just like $5 million.
Sure. Well, maybe, but here's the thing. The UFC allowed this to happen in a lot of ways. They still had to go through a process to make sure that they got theirs in this situation. I got to imagine that they're only going to play ball, Gary, again in a situation like this if Conor McGregor does in fact come back to the octagon. There are a lot of people that are on the fence about it. Some people say that absolutely Conor will fight again. He'll fight again before the end of this year. Some people say he won't fight again until maybe the end of next year. I think he'll come back. I think Conor McGregor is a millionaire, but at the end of the day, he's still a martial artist.
We'll see when that check clears.
But do you think that the UFC would maybe have a bit more hesitancy to allow an athlete under contract box if it meant that they would get this once in a lifetime payday and potentially
no, that's
shelve
why they
their
formed
MMA career?
Zuffa Boxing. That's
yeah, but
they formed it for just exactly for this reason.
But it's still. I mean,
UFC
it's like winning
did
the
not
lottery,
have
though.
to let him fight, though.
No, I know, but it's
they could have locked up Conor in litigation if he would have fought it.
But again, like if I'm a guy who's been fighting for 50 and 50 or 75 and 25 or whatever, and now I'm going to go here and fight for $100 million. I don't need to work anymore. I don't need to fight anymore. I don't need to risk my body. Yes, you can have contracts. Doesn't mean that a fighter has to fight if he doesn't want to fight.
Well, welcome to the WME IMG era. This is something that the Fertitta brothers would not have allowed to happen. So we're looking at a company that owns the UFC that is in the star-making business. This is something that makes a star. Now WME IMG could be looking at it this way. Yeah, you let a fighter leave the UFC temporarily to go into a boxing match or go do kickboxing, whatever other combat sport is going to garner more money. They take a cut of that, and then they're a big star. Maybe they don't come back, but you know what? Maybe you get a cut of their movie career. Maybe you get a cut of their endorsements.
They got a really big note to pay every month.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you ever heard? Jordan, I know you've heard of this. A 360 deal. That's a big thing in music now, where a record label takes a cut of pretty much anything that you come across, whether you get endorsements, your concerts, not only your album sales, your merchandising or movies or anything you do. This could be combat sports version of the 360 deal.
Yeah, but they're buying that. I mean, they're not, you're not just signing a contract and giving that away. They're giving you something for that. They're saying, hey, you're getting a guarantee, or we're fronting you, you know what I mean, an X amount of what that guarantee is, or down the line, or a minimum. Once you do that, once you accept that guarantee, well, then, they can pretty much do what they want. They own whatever it is you do. If he were to never fight again, I don't know what if Conor wakes up and says, you know what, I look at my kid, I just made all this money, I know I have this contract, I don't know what the penalty would be. I don't know what that would...
What do you mean penalty? You don't have to... If you owe someone fights, it just means that if you fight in this time, you owe those fights to them. They own your fight rights. If you don't fight, you don't owe them anything.
Yeah, they can't force you to fight.
They can't force you to fight.
No.
So yeah, they just lock you out of fighting for anyone else.
So then it comes down to a trust factor, is my point.
Right. Well, I mean, the UFC says, well, okay, you're not fighting anymore, therefore you're retired, so we're freezing your contract. That's why Randy Couture said he was resigning, not retiring. I don't know. I think it's good for combat sports. I mean,
do you think Conor's going to do that? Or do you think he's going to defend his title?
I think Conor's going to fight
for a lot more money in the UFC.
Yeah, because he.
So what does that mean? So that's a change. That's a departure from how the UFC has normally been. They now have a guy coming back in.
Right.
He's a champion.
Mm-hmm.
He's the champion.
Mm-hmm.
They have an interim champion, so those two were going to have to fight. But they have to now give him a guarantee, which is something they never really did before.
I mean, Conor McGregor is an agent of change. Like, this is what his entire...
Well, really, Ronda. It changed with Ronda.
Well,
this
Conor
has happened with
Ronda. Nothing changed with Ronda, though, because one of the reasons the UFC and the Fertittas loved Ronda and why other managers and fight contemporaries hated her is that Ronda took lowball deals all the time from the UFC and relied so heavily on the UFC for promotional opportunities outside of it. Even though, which is ironic and shows how little Rousey even grasped the totality of what a star she was. She was on Oprah and shit before the UFC. She won an Olympic medal before the UFC. Right. And still, she was so deferential and left so many millions on the table because she jumped at the first offer the UFC gave her time and time again. McGregor is the antithesis of this.
Hey, Jordan Breen, what if I just told you that DJ Hoppa replied to me on Twitter?
Well, I mean, that wouldn't shock me at all. It's not like he's a major celebrity.
What are you talking about?
We are probably literally the biggest fans of that guy vis-a-vis K1 Dynamite USA that anyone has ever been.
I know. If you don't know what we're talking about, it'll be up soon, the archive of our 24-hour marathon. I'm beyond sleep-deprived and so excited to go to sleep here.
Didn't Ronda get, though, the biggest pay bump as far as, like, when
she came back and fought for $3 million. That was her guaranteed money.
So she never got a back-end pay-per-view cut?
Of course she did.
Oh,
of course she did. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah, but I don't know.
I mean, who was doing that before her, getting back-end pay-per-view?
A lot of people. Tito Ortiz was getting pay-per-view cuts.
I don't know if they were pulling in $1 million buys. If she did that, did she pull in $1 million buys? She did hit the 1 million mark,
but
right?
I mean,
more than once.
But Tito was getting pay-per-view cuts, and they were not doing 500,000 buys. He would still get a cut of pay-per-view. I mean, not much. I mean, you're talking like.
So don't you think Conor's going to come in and that entire process is going to be restructured?
Sure. But here's the thing too, and Jordan, I'd love your thoughts on this. If Conor McGregor comes back and fights in the UFC this year or early next year, it's not going to be against the winner of Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson. It's going to be Nate Diaz. That's where the money is. I mean, if Conor McGregor's going to command tens of millions of dollars guaranteed on paper, you have to have a money fight. The only money fight for Conor McGregor right now is settling the trilogy with Nate Diaz.
Well, it's a relative scale, too. I mean, Conor McGregor against Kevin Lee or Tony Ferguson still going to do an incredible amount of business. It's just not going to do anywhere near the business that a rubber match with Nate Diaz does.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to wait and see what Kevin Lee does with Tony Ferguson. I think that matchup, those personalities, is going to be dynamite for promotion. Kevin Lee, in my opinion, is the next big star in the UFC. So,
I can't handle a Kevin Lee Conor McGregor fight promotion because that means I'm going to have to look at Kevin Lee dressed up like Kevin Lee, inevitably standing next to Dylan Dennis dressed up like Dylan Dennis, while Kevin Lee acts like Kevin Lee and Dylan Dennis acts like Dylan Dennis. I can't do it. It's too much. Like, dude, I might have a stroke or a seizure or something. That's too much bootleg Versace in one place.
Too much 90s R&B group.
Yeah, just wearing these fucking Jodeci sunglasses, just looking like idiots. I can't do it.
I was thinking more After 7, but
I wanted to bring up one thing that Conor didn't do, and I don't quite understand it, is he never actually really let that left hand go. The entire fight. I mean, he never, not even the way I saw it in sparring against Paulie. And it's not like, maybe he couldn't do it. Maybe that was Floyd, but I really didn't see it attempted.
The way it looked to me, I thought that Conor was trying to conserve his gas tank, and he wasn't trying to expend too much energy in the power shots. It's just that as the fight went on, he got tired anyway, moving around so much and dealing with someone as tricky as Floyd.
And Floyd backed him up and started banging him with the body, too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. That was hard pressure. That was hard pressure. I mean, Floyd gave those rounds away, obviously, knowingly. I mean, he was smiling while he was doing it. But
yeah, and McGregor seemed to have the right strategic idea, though. He went out and attacked early, which obviously he's going to have to do. It's reasonable that he was going to gas anyway. It's one thing that a lot of people foretold, whether or not it was a result of Mayweather putting the pressure on him or it was just him being in the different boxing environment and having to go 12 rounds. But the way that he used the jab and the timing and just kind of threw short shots to get a look, I would never want to compare him to Vasyl Lomachenko or something like that. But when you see a dude like Lomachenko who throws a lot of shots like that just to try to get his opponent moving and get a look and then set up bigger shots, I mean, we talked about
I thought those bigger shot opportunities were there. He would do 2-3 little pitter patters.
It's hard to throw the left hand when you're riding Mayweather's back for half the fight. All right? I mean,
but seriously, I do think that maybe he could have let the left hand go a bit more, but I thought he generally had a good idea.
I expected a little more bad intentions behind the left hand from Conor. I think there was some opportunities there that he just he seemed real content that the pitter patter was kind of working for those first couple of rounds, and maybe didn't see the bigger picture that was kind of happening over time. That could have literally been just like sitting in boiling water and not realizing how hot it's about to get. But the opportunities were there.
Yeah.
I mean, he did an adrenaline dump in the first 2 rounds. But I didn't see him do, and I love this about MMA, and this is something that I think a new term that MMA has brought to the table, and I thought Conor would do it, is I thought he would level up at certain points in the fight and maybe be detailed strategically enough to know that at the midpoint of round 3, I'm going to do this. And, I'm gonna start throwing a couple of 5, punch combinations with the 4th and 5th punch being hard. I expected to see that. I expected to see, with what we saw from Floyd, especially if you've been in the boxing community, you see skilled veterans do to young, really good amateurs and really good young pros all the time in the gym. And that's what helps those guys actually get a lot better. But you see the seasoned pro deal with all the early stuff, and then basically drown them in the end. And I think Conor got good enough to be a solid contender in boxing. I really do. He just hung in there, and I think he was so well composed. I think he could have done more. I saw the opportunity there. He put himself in the right positions.
That jab, though. Oh, man.
Good jab. Solid jab.
Yeah.
Solid jab.
Those uppercuts. That he
the left uppercut early
Yeah.
on, I thought was like the best punch that he landed. And it was like the first punch of consequence. In general, too, I thought the strategic element they had was smart, because one of the things we honed in on before the fight was McGregor is not like a stupendous MMA boxer. He's pretty much a one-handed, counter-oriented left-handed puncher, but he sets everything up with this heavy window dressing of kicking offense that gets people moving, doing erratic things, and then all of a sudden it's left hand,
Yep.
and you end up looking like Dennis Seaver. You obviously can't kick in this case, and he's not a really, I was going to say not a great MMA jabber, but he just really doesn't jab, period, in the MMA context. The way they came up with him at least doing that pitter-patter attack and standing in front of Floyd and trying to get a look, even if maybe he didn't pull the trigger as much as he could have, as Gary pointed out, even if he was perhaps wary about gassing himself out too early, as Ant pointed out, I still think that general strategy, especially basing it around things that McGregor doesn't really excel at in his MMA game, was really impressive. Because if the whole idea around what makes McGregor successful is that he sets up these situations where all of a sudden he can nuke people with that left hand once he gets a certain look, how is he going to do it without kicking? This is a pretty valiant effort and a pretty clever one against exactly the kind of guy in Floyd Mayweather, a historically noteworthy and celebrated sterling defensive specialist. That's pretty impressive stuff.
We've got some audio that Jordan wants me to play, and we'll also get to some attendance figures. We're going to take a quick break, though, first. 844-SHERDOG is the number. It is 844-743-7364. You can get at us on Twitter, at TJ DeSantis, at Ant Walker MMA.
Yep.
Not the great Big Daddy?
I'm still the great Big Daddy at heart, but
Okay.
my Twitter name is Ant Walker MMA.
And what are you, Gary? Are you on Twitter?
Yeah, at MGX Mother's Milk.
Okay, perfect. Go follow and get at us. Let us know what you think. Or give us a ring. Again, 844-SHERDOG is the number. 844-743-7364. Take a quick break. Come back. More Beatdown after the bell on the Sherdog Radio Network.
Fedor Emelianenko is a beast.
It's Fedor Emelianenko.
Emelianenko.
No, Emelianenko.
Fedor Emelianenko.
This is the Beatdown.
Right.
We'll be right back.
Looking to maximize your sports betting bankroll? Then sign up with betonline.ag today to claim a 50% bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code SHERDOG, and up to $2,500 worth of sportsbook free plays will be credited to your account instantly. Once you're in on the action, you'll see firsthand why betonline.ag receives an A grade. Bonuses on every qualifying deposit. The earliest opening odds in the industry. State-of-the-art live betting software, the highest parlay and teaser payouts on the planet. Plus, you're getting odds on football, hoops, baseball, MMA, boxing, and just about every other sport. That's just a small sample of what is waiting for you at betonline.ag. And thanks to a large list of banking options, including credit cards and Bitcoin, getting your account set up only takes a few minutes. Most importantly, when it comes to getting paid, your winnings will always be delivered to you on time. Remember to score your 50% bonus. Just use the promo code SHERDOG. Sign up at betonline.ag today. Because you can.
This is a Sherdog Radio Network 24-hour marathon donation update.
All right, so the marathon is officially over, but I'm still trying to get that number for Javi Vasquez. I really wanted $50,000. We're not there. We're almost at $49,000. $75 more will get us $49,000. So we are currently right there on the bubble of our halfway mark, which I'll take. If you want to give like $1,075, I'd appreciate it. Javier Vasquez would appreciate it as well. You can do that right now at tiny.cc/tapcancer. And even when this marathon is far in the rear view, I'm sure Javi would appreciate your support during his battle with colon cancer. So please, if you have it, share it. Javi Vasquez, one of the more important people in my personal life, and has definitely been a personality and figure here on the Sherdog Radio Network for the better part of a decade. So go do that. I would appreciate it. More Beatdown after the bell coming up here on the Sherdog Radio Network.
support Javier Vasquez as he beats colon cancer. To donate, please visit tiny.cc/tapcancer.
You know what? Screw a pay-per-view. In the crib with Odin Smith betting on the fights, losing all my loot. A setup, he had to scam me out of my cream, cause he's pals with the Beatdown and Jordan Breen. Every time after the bell, he on the Dell. For recaps on who tapped and lost his belt, ill comebacks and fight stats. Analyzing every match, the good rap, call up and chat with the Sherdogs who got it on smash and lock. Bet the bank, who's messing with that? Patrick Wap, thanks. This is it for my MMA fix. I like them offer shows less than Mike Ridley, like the Clips. And TJ be live in Menage 3 ways. Maybe not, but he still keep it blazing hot. Show Hoslow, myspace.com/LORESO. Own it. Let me get my money back. Yeah. TJ and Jordan, take that. Yo, Mike Ridley, what up? Yo, tell Odin, give him my money back.
Odin, give him his money back. We're back on Beatdown After the Bell, Sherdog Radio Network. TJ Santis, along with Anthony Walker, Jordan Breen, Gary Randall from The Science of Violence. I tried to hit up your buddy Mike Ridley to see if he'd come on the air and give us his thoughts, but I think he's busy being the editor-in-chief guy. You know, he's doing big things.
Yeah, I think Fridley's slammed.
Yeah, we'll see, though. Hang on. He's texting me back. Can't yet. He still has coverage coming in. But hopefully we can get Mike on. Jordan Breen hanging out as well. Jordan, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this audio when I try to play it. Do you need to set it up?
Here's the thing. I don't want to have to hear it again. Play the full 69-second version that I sent you. This is an assault on the senses. You know, cord cutting something that came up with you and Ant talking earlier. You want to know why people turn an eye away from a lot of cable, even if it's something they care about like sports? Listen to the cacophony of Teddy Atlas and Stephen A. Smith. And as many of you know, I'm known to talk over a man from time to time. A woman too. I'll talk over anyone. This is an assault on the senses.
Fast food? I mean, doesn't that make it fast food? That's exactly what it does. That's what I'm saying. He made him go in there. Listen, and he made him flip cheeseburgers. Listen, he made him go in there. He made him do something. Whoa, hold on, Teddy. But his character allowed him still to walk the guy down. Wait a minute, Teddy.
Oh my God!
What the hell did they say? I just heard like food analogies the whole time.
I want a hamburger.
So I'm very happy that Mayweather McGregor birthed that.
Like Teddy Atlas can make some very wild analogies, and half the time I have no idea what he's talking about if it's not just straight technique talk. So please, Jordan, do you have any context to the flipping the burgers? What
my God.
What was that supposed to represent?
This everything Teddy does is normally I rate it on a scale of like, is it anodyne but sort of crazy, like him talking about the New York Jets? That's like a 1. And then 10 is him having a stroke on air and doing, though, you put the lime in the coconut and you mix it all up. You put the lime in the coconut and drink it all down.
Well, how long until
this is beyond the lime in the coconut. This broke the lime in the coconut scale.
How
the burger flipping thing is. What the hell is he talking about?
This is going to be auto-tuned and put in so many ridiculous YouTube videos for many years to come.
Can we the memes that are going to come from this whole
Hold on, Teddy! Hold on, Teddy!
Yes, the memes.
Stephen A. Smith realizes he's not being listened to and goes into this weird state where like, he's yelling at himself. That entire clip is just my brain feels besieged.
I think you hit the nail on the head. He's yelling at himself. Yeah, he really is.
I think his hairline actually moved further back as he was yelling. It was quite the feat.
Wow. I guess, I mean, yeah. That these sort of things like the world is like coming apart right now.
Hey, I don't know about you guys, but I am tuning in Monday to watch Undisputed on FS1. I gotta watch it, man. Well, it is going to be pure comedy. I'm watching.
Well, here's the thing. This is pro wrestling. Skip Bayless is a pro wrestler. So either he's going to double down on Conor McGregor and go, you know what, he got screwed, or he's going to pull a heel turn and be like, Conor sucks, he pissed it away. I'm a Floyd Mayweather fan. That's what he did with Terrell Owens. That is nonsense. But
it's entertaining nonsense. I'll give him that.
It is pro wrestling without appreciating the backstage politics.
Yeah, but it was also pro wrestling reffing, and that's actually kind of disturbing.
Well,
that was interesting.
I don't think that should be forgotten in the aftermath of this. That happened. I think that's a real shame that that's forgotten, because
is Bob Bennett
I think that's what these guys should actually be talking about. That was so blatantly biased on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, and kudos to Conor for keeping his composure, never taking his eyes off his opponent, and just, ready to fight. And he was obviously, on autopilot at that point. Both guys were. But I've never seen that in the sport of boxing before. I've only heard about stuff like that happening in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and when things involved the mob and things like that. I mean, honestly, I think there should be some kind of consequence or reprimand for that. Something's not right there, man. You can't let that pass. I get it. That was very, very, very out of line.
It looked bad. It definitely looked bad. But here's the thing. The referee had...
It was bad.
Yeah, but the referee had many opportunities to actually make a poor choice, and he didn't. He didn't take a point away from Conor. He could have. I mean, the hammer fist happened many times. He hit to the back of the head many times. Conor reached out and punched Floyd when the referee was standing in between him. Didn't do anything. He just gave a very stern warning to Conor unfairly.
But he did deviate from the
I'm not going to
script, I guess, of how a fight is started and won, which, in my opinion, kind of creates confusion and awkwardness.
Agreed.
Well, Conor kind of looked at him like, "What are you doing right now?"
Yeah, I mean,
everybody kind of tilted their head like, "What are you doing right now?" And I don't know. I think there should be something. It can't go ignored.
Hey, Jordan, you think Bob Bennett has a conversation with the referee tonight?
I mean, Robert Byrd's their second. He's the 1A and 1B are him and Kenny Bayless.
Okay, but I mean, does that make Bob Bennett pull the Keith Kaiser and say there's no problems here in Nevada?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing we're gonna get. I mean, dude, he's well-intentioned. Dude, his wife. Think about he's 10 times more important than his wife is.
Yeah.
His wife is a terrible judge in 2 sports.
Yeah.
In 2 sports.
It's true.
This one thing we can say about Nevada, it's not just a good old boys network. The girls getting in on the fun too. I was actually mad. Floyd's out here talking right now. By the way, your gate, according to Floyd Mayweather, is over $80 million, breaking the $72 million gate that Pacquiao.
And what was the attendance?
Like 14,000.
Your attendance, not exactly a great one, considering that the T-Mobile had over 20,000 people for Canelo and Chavez. But your attendance for the evening, 14,632, far from a sellout.
Can we divide, or can we take the gate number and divide it by the number of people that were in house and paid, and figure out what the average ticket was?
Yeah. I mean, that is
can someone
a mathematical idea.
Yeah, can someone figure that out?
I didn't know if you were being rhetorical.
No,
if you
I'm
were
serious.
One of us should go do it right
Sorry.
now.
I wasn't asking if there was like a mathematical formula that existed to figure that out. I'm aware of how division works. I can't recall a fight that was so barren throughout the entire fight card, and then all of a sudden the main event happened and it was that packed. It was very, very noticeable. I know that it happens in Vegas, but like it felt
extra dramatic.
It felt like a David Copperfield illusion. It was like it's empty. Oh my God, the fire marshal is here and we all have to leave.
There were so many delicious freaks on the hard camera side, though. There was one guy who had a mustache and was bald and was very obviously out of his mind on cocaine and just kept vibrating and bouncing around.
I saw that.
But speaking of people ringside, when the pay-per-view, Floyd was just saying that pay-per-view service in California and Florida went down, and that specifically was the thing that led to them delaying it a bit. And so they're showing clips from the Andre Berto fight, which I assume they did because Berto's part of an MMA family and not because it's any kind of fight you'd want to rewatch. Right. Nonetheless, the Berto fight, I'm sitting there just like, God, can we start this? And I look across, and the way the ring is laid out, it's just a perfect run of the last era of the Nevada Athletic Commission. You know, there's no J. Daniel Carpenter or what's-her-face who just got Stacey Alonso who just got appointed. It's Marion Michon, Pat Lundvall, Francisco Aguilar, Skip Avancino, Anthony Marnell. And I'm just looking at them. And, like, Lundvall is right in the middle of the camera. She doesn't have her glasses on. She's, like, squinting. And I'm just like, I hate all of you.
Well, she was probably trying to figure out if John Kavanaugh spoke English.
Oh, do you read? Do you understand English? Is that what they speak in your Ireland?
Do you read and speak English? Yeah.
The Mola Wall's reaction to that is just the best all time.
Nevada, what a show. Like, you talked about this on the JBS a long time ago, Breen, about making a television show, like an HBO series about an athletic commission. And you don't need to do it because it exists. The Nevada Athletic Commission is a television show, and it happens to air on UFC Fight Pass.
God, just think about the two Conor-related ones. Remember the Marion Michon and Pat Lundvall talking about him filming public service announcements for Nevada, overthrowing water bottles and shit. Like,
I remember when
these psychos.
In my day, Ratner was running the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and he did a great job.
Ratner's still responsible for the best hijinks moment in Nevada Athletic Commission history after Lennox Lewis and Oliver McCall too, when clearly Oliver McCall has had a crack cocaine-induced complete meltdown inside the ring and starts crying, and the fight stopped by Mills Lane, and no one really understands what has happened. The HBO crew are dumbfounded. You know, like Larry Merchant is just like, we're watching a man like just I believe his line's like, we're watching a man like in the grips of personal crises or something like that. Yeah. They have no idea what they're watching, although are obviously dimly aware it's a link to this man being a crack cocaine addict. But because of the bizarre and esoteric nature of the finish, they get Ratner interviewed. I think it's Lampley. It might be Merchant. But I think it's Lampley. They get him ringside at the HBO desk, like right after they announce Lennox Lewis as the winner, and Ratner is in a state that I have never seen another regulator in public or film.
No,
Ratner is so upset. Doesn't begin to explain it. He is so clearly confused, worried that he just saw like a fix or something like that. Yeah. He is apoplectic.
That's
he is
the first thing they think.
Red and purple.
That's the first thing they think always is a fix.
Yeah, and this is obviously in a time where this is much more viable. Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield won after all. That notwithstanding, like Ratner is like shaking uncontrollably. And he's not even making sense when he's talking to Jim Lampley. He's yelling about withholding Oliver McCall's purse pending an investigation. But he's so upset that he actually looks like he's going to burst into tears on HBO.
Nothing has changed though. This many years later.
How do you just recall that?
Because he's got like a photographic memory.
I remember that.
Pretty crazy. You know what's crazy to me is Mark Ratner's still constantly confused. Every time they put him on the UFC's broadcast, you're like, Mark Ratner. Can you knee to the head of a grounded opponent? Sure! Whatever you want, Herb Dean.
Yeah, the Tim Means Alex Oliveira broadcast is a very that's like the nadir of UFC regulatory related broadcasting. That is about as sad as it's ever gotten.
I don't know.
But seriously, kudos to Nevada at least going back to Adelaide Bird, Pat Lundvall, Marion Michon, Stacey Alonso now. It's not just for men. Their kind of grift is one that's gender inclusive.
844 Sherdog is the number. It is 844-743-7364. Phone line's wide open. I thought that the phones would be ringing off the hook. I mean, this is the fight that never was supposed to happen. It finally happens. It's supposed to, it apparently broke the internet. I mean, this fight officially broke the internet.
Yeah, it literally broke parts of the internet.
I think everyone's kind of satisfied.
Haven't seen that since Kim Kardashian's ass.
But not only did it break the internet, it sounds like it broke the regular infrastructure of North American cable.
So did Pacquiao Mayweather, because I ordered that fight. I think I spent like $90 or whatever for the HD.
Right.
I ended up getting SD in Spanish.
But you just got whatever.
and I did not get a refund.
Wow.
That's why I said I want to see your correspondence. I want to see what they tell you.
The number 2 trending topic on Twitter right now, by the way, is Conor with 2 N's.
Oh, man.
I love the sport.
Does it help if I am featured on the network that didn't work from time to time?
I don't think it hurts.
But the operator's not going to care about that, so I don't know.
They're going to buy it again.
What's that?
They're going to buy it again. Everyone's going to buy it again. There's going to be another, and everyone's going to buy it again.
I think Conor will box again. I do. And you know what?
I wanted to find out, TJ, what do you think the wake of this is going to be like? And I don't mean, the 10-year wake. I mean the 1-year wake.
Well, I think Conor will return to the UFC, and he'll have a fight there. And he'll fight Nate Diaz probably. And then the talk is going to come up again about...
I think he's going to fight Woodley.
No. That'd be...
He's going to fight Woodley.
That would not be good.
It's going to happen.
That would not be good for Conor McGregor.
I don't like his chances in that fight, but I could definitely see that matchup being made. Because Conor, he keeps on defying logic. He keeps on doing everything he's not supposed to do and coming out like gold every time. Well... Why doesn't he stop? Why does he stop that now?
This is what's going to happen. And I wasn't for it, but now I kind of am because he showed himself that he can box. I think he's going to box Paulie Malignaggi. And I think it's going to have legs now.
What if he boxes Nate Diaz? What if their trilogy fight is a boxing match?
What if Paulie Malignaggi agrees to fight Conor in the octagon?
No.
Paulie starts.
I know. I mean, we all know what'll happen, but no one's gonna watch the boxing match, man. No one's gonna care.
Really? They're gonna want to.
It's not gonna be like this.
They want to see.
It won't be like this.
They want to see Conor McGregor get his hands raised, and that's much more likely.
I don't know that it's more viable than UFC fight.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's more.
I'll tell you this. Unless I am told we have to do Beatdown after the bell, I will not buy Conor McGregor versus Paulie Malignaggi.
I'll tell you this.
I won't.
You'd buy it if it were in the octagon.
Of course I would.
And everybody else would. The number would be a lot bigger if Paulie went into the octagon. You could be talking about even breaking a UFC record.
Team Tiger Showman.
And that goes with everything we spoke about earlier.
Yeah, I mean
that could happen.
This is the thing, though.
Road.
That's what tonight proves. Tonight proves honestly that no matter how ludicrous something sounds in your head, if you say it 5 or 6 times, the next thing you know, you're paying $100 for it on pay-per-view.
Or $200.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it would be this big of a pop culture spectacle. I really didn't. I mean, I knew it was going to be big, and I knew that we were going to get a ridiculous price point for it. But when when Conor started going after Steven Espinoza at the press conferences, and
he changed the game when he did that.
And Floyd Mayweather is like walking up to Dana, being like, "Uncle Dana, what's up, man? We're the same person." What is happening right now?
Everybody was playing their role.
Yeah. Well, Steven Espinoza didn't know that it was anybody's role.
Didn't matter.
He was upset.
It was the theater of life. It was just happening. It was just magic happening. All of it was magic.
All right.
Floyd's car salesman routine is just nerve grating, though.
Well, he doesn't have wit.
Yeah,
but he does have. But what Floyd does have, he excels in keeping his composure to a point. To a point of, I think he tries to make up for lack of wit or lack of intelligence, whatever one would want to call it, with stoicism. And that comes from him keeping his composure the way he does.
I thought he made up for it with hard work and dedication.
Well, dude, he's a great defensive fighter on multiple levels, and I don't mean this is a weird thing to praise, so to speak, but it is essentially like what I wrote my column on this week. Like the defining characteristic, as we're still in the wake of John Jones' recent idiocy, Floyd Mayweather has many ghoulish and monstrous dimensions to his personality that John Jones also had. Floyd Mayweather has a strip club called Girl Collection. Like literally the most dehumanizing thing that you could possibly call a strip club. And where did he come up with the idea of I want to own a strip club? When he was sitting in jail for beating up the mother of his children in front of him. What a fucking hero. And yet, when he gets pressed on this stuff in public, there are a few athletes I've ever seen who are better at diffusing discussion about their past indiscretions and horrifying acts than Floyd Mayweather. His ability to just stick to the script, to demonstrate that kind of stoicism that Gary mentioned, and always like steer the conversation away from it is incredible. Hey. And I don't just mean for like prize fighters. Lots of athletes get up to lots of heinous shit and are not good people. Floyd Mayweather's ability to just be a politician and always stay on message and never trip over his own dick is amazing to me, given how awful some of his transgressions are.
That's right. I think what he did to Victor Ortiz says everything you need to know about Floyd Mayweather. I really do. Honestly, it was a cheap shot. It was a terrible shot. And he didn't even get suspended.
Well, no, I thought it was good. It was a good cheap shot.
It was well deserved.
Sure,
it was a good cheap shot.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I only mean good because it knocked him it just knocked it KTFO'd him. You know what I mean? Like it did its job. But
I know defend yourself at all times. Blah 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 blah. I mean, Conor McGregor did it tonight.
Listen.
But
what a fighter does outside of their profession.
Sure.
Okay. Is and this is just me and you know, when I see Floyd in the ring, I'm not sitting there seething through my teeth and saying that dude's a woman beater or that guy's gotten in trouble for beating a woman, or that guy's allegedly gotten in trouble for beating a woman, and you know, and start judging him on what I hear. You know, everyone's done their dirt and everyone has their story, and I don't know the context and their situations in detail, and I am certainly not an investigator, so I just don't
look at the court records.
No. I understand that, Jordan, and what I'm saying is I'm not trying to diminish. I'm not trying to diminish what he did, but what I'm saying is it has nothing to do with me watching him fight.
Yeah, but you're choosing to ignore something that you shouldn't. Honestly,
I'm not ignoring. I'm talking about it with you right now.
Yeah, but you're saying I'm not investigating. But you, I'm
just saying I'm not. That has nothing to do with my judgment or watching him fight. I don't know that whole story.
So do you care about the person that is fighting? Do you care about what their moral makeup is, or do you only care about their fighting techniques and strategy when they compete?
I think that depends on how much I know about that person. So I know a lot about Floyd. I've met Floyd. I've seen his entire career.
Right.
Up pretty close. I've never seen that side of Floyd. Okay, I've hung out with Mike Tyson, and there's horrible stories about Mike Tyson, and even some things that you know come up, and maybe some people confirm and things like that. And it's like, you know what, you're with me right now. That this is how I'm experiencing you.
Sure.
You know, and not even just on a one-off, but on multiple occasions, and you don't see that side of somebody.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to, you know, judge them on some either a past mistake. You don't know if they made a mistake.
Right, but you're different.
You don't know if but it's not my crime or my judgment to forgive them for.
But you're taking personal experiences and then making a decision. Not everyone gets to see or meet or be around these athletes. And nowadays, most people just read TMZ or look at whatever. I mean, sometimes the news isn't even real. Like, I saw a really disturbing fake news story to push some testosterone booster, and they're clearly taking the bar fight that Cody Gibson was in and changing the name Corey Gibson, and saying, yeah, this is amazing. I sent the link to Cody.
The Google Me bitch?
Yes. So what they did is they said UFC fighter gets his ass kicked by guy in a bar who's taking super awesome mega test booster, and they misspell Cody's name or say that it's Corey Gibson, so you want to go confirm it, you type in Corey Gibson bar fight UFC, what's the first thing that comes up? Cody Gibson. Google me, bitch. There's a lot of articles that were written that were shitting on Cody pretty hard there. So all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is real. They just accidentally misspelled the guy's name. I'm going to go buy the stupid testosterone booster and hope my heart doesn't blow up. Getting back to what you were saying, Gary, most people don't take personal experiences because they never have personal experiences and deem a fighter a good or bad human being based on what is in court records.
But do you think the fans that Mike Tyson has left, those of us that just loved him in the beginning and just loved the way he fought and fell in love with the sport of boxing, maybe because of him, do you think that like all those people, every time they speak about him, have to acknowledge his past mistakes? Like
it doesn't matter about Mike Tyson because Mike Tyson isn't a relevant boxer. You're not putting down money to watch.
But does it mean that every time you talk about Floyd Mayweather, that it's warranted it's that an attached part of that conversation is his mistakes in life?
And depends on what the conversation.
It depends on what context we're talking about him, because you can't.
But we weren't talking about women getting beat up. I mean, we went to the girl collection thing. We segued through the girl.
We're
collection.
talking about his personality right now.
Yeah, and also when we're talking about promoting a fight and you're highlighting people's personalities and people have to choose sides of who they like and who they don't like, who they want to see get knocked out and who they're rooting for.
But not everyone actually chooses a side. You just watch a good fight and you're just,
But you're also an educated fight fan.
That's true.
And that's there's a huge difference between my man on Skype and us three sitting in this room and the rest of the world watching the fight. There's a big difference in the way we think about fighters and athletes.
Well, I look at it like if I want my kid to look at any of these guys and want to be like any of these guys, I would certainly more gear towards Conor, because I think when Conor speaks intelligently, he's amazing to listen to. I think Conor could give an amazing TED Talks. I really do. I think it would be epic. I wouldn't. Floyd's certainly not the guy that I would point my kid in that direction and say, hey, look what he's accomplished, and I want you to be like him.
You want your son to turn around one day and go, who the fuck is that guy? That's what you want.
What the fuck are you gonna do, Dad?
No, I'm not doing my homework. You'll do nothing.
But I think it's important to look at the totality.
I don't think that when I'm showing, I don't think it should diminish me showing my kid Floyd fighting or saying this is a great fighter. I don't think it just always needs to be attached. I just don't.
Yeah, but
I don't see why it's a constant stage for that when you're talking about fighting.
Well, right now I don't think I'm a journalist. I don't think I'm anything like that. But we are members of the media, and right now we're essentially putting Floyd up on the shelf. His career is done. The retrospective, he's done until he wants to fight again. But we're putting him away, and the retrospective articles are going to come out again, and we're going to start to think of Floyd as a person of the past. And when you tell that story, those things do come up.
It'll come up when they want to put him in the Hall of Fame. What, in like 5 years when they vote him in? I'm sure it'll come up again, and it'll be attached, and someone will protest, and look at what he did. That won't work.
Also the precedent. Arturo Gatti's in there. Arturo Gatti is a savage woman beater. Was a savage woman beater. It's certainly not going to impugn the man's career, but as we were talking about the fact that he is able to, for a dude that is completely witless, for a dude that is functionally illiterate, if that is to be believed, and there's certainly a weird amount of corroborating and anecdotal evidence, it's amazing just how truly buttoned up and business savvy Floyd Mayweather is. It's astonishing to watch someone who so has all their ducks in a row all the time and can again, going back to the John Jones,
yet comes off as smart as a cracker.
That's what I mean.
That's a bad word to say. It comes off as smart as that's $5.
No.
Yeah, I was
but it's a potato chip. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, as a blade of grass. He really, there's no wit there at all.
Yeah, like
there's
it's
no
amazing
wit there at
to
all.
watch someone whose like persona seems so just base and silly, and like, but that's the duality with this dude is like you think, oh yeah, he's throwing around all this money at a strip club, like he's just like the most kind of like base and vulgar vision of what like success and being like a high-powered athlete is supposed to be, and it belies the fact that like he really actually isn't that dude and has water in the club, and even if he is, you know, got some ghoulish dimensions to his personality, is someone that can always like Conor in his bullshit saving face interview. You know, he didn't hit that hard, he wasn't really that fast, but the composure, and that's something that Floyd has in the ring and out of it. You know, God, even I was thinking about this as like Jim Gray was interviewing him. Even though he got hot sometimes over the years with Larry Merchant, it's amazing that someone like Floyd hasn't ever just bopped Jim Gray in the head. Who hasn't wanted to among us?
Well, he wanted to against Larry Merchant, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, Larry, him and Larry had a special adversarial relationship.
I think it's possible Floyd comes back and fights Broner.
God, well, I mean, dude, this is the thing: is
that could happen.
Adrian Broner is what happens when you don't do the legwork and don't do the research and don't peel the layers back and figure out what Floyd Mayweather is really like.
Mm-hmm.
Because Adrian Broner is someone that like Adrian Broner is a mark. You may think he's a mark for himself. No, he's a mark for just that kind of like base culture and humanity. Adrian Broner's the kind of person that sees Floyd Mayweather and doesn't get that it's a put on.
Right, as he's becoming Floyd Mayweather.
Adrian Broner is
trying to becoming Floyd Mayweather. He's becoming a Floyd Mayweather costume.
What? You got everybody spoke at once.
Yeah, I'd say Adrian Broner is the young James Toney. A guy that's so supremely talented, has all the skills in the world, but just refuses to put in the necessary work. I think that I can't remember what fight it was for, but some All Access that Mayweather had leading up to one of his bouts. He like him and Broner saw each other at a concert or something like that, and Broner comes into like this VIP area with, I mean, he actually dressed a lot like Kevin Lee this day. He had like some vest or something with no shirt, and he just had gut hanging out. And Floyd's looking at him like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, that's the sort of thing that Floyd never would do between bouts. And when we're talking about, we're talking about a guy, his personal shortcomings and, his professional successes, I think it's important to look at the totality and pick and choose what you want your children or your family or what you want yourself to be like. Because if you want to be as great as Floyd, you got to work damn hard the way he did. But at the same time, let's not have that same sense of entitlement. Let's not have that same sense that you can just get away with anything you want. Vis-a-vis John Jones, like you don't want to have that along with the great athletic talent with those accolades.
I think the best current champion out there right now, currently champion, is Daniel D.C. Cormier.
He's not the current champion.
I want my kid to be like the champ.
Not the current
Daniel
champion.
D.C. Cormier.
Not the current champion. John Jones is entitled to due process, Mr. Randall. Andy Foster told me himself.
He'll be the current champion.
He'll be the current champion for like, I don't know however long the hearing is, and then we're not going to hear from him for like 4 years.
Waiting on that B sample.
Oh, man.
When does that happen, by the way?
I don't know.
When does that come in?
I'm not sure.
That next week?
Don't know. No idea.
Got to have it by next week. If they had enough time to test A, they got enough time to test B.
Yeah. I mean,
got to happen.
I am so...
Nowitzki says the B sample's already been tested. So.
Yeah, of course it's been tested.
Well, they're just waiting for the results.
Yeah.
And talking to Andy Foster, Andy said that the only time he's ever heard of a B sample coming back different than the A sample was with THC. And did that happen with Nick Diaz?
I think so.
Well, with Diaz, it was that he had 3 tests on fight night,
right?
And it was only the second one that he flunked,
right? So the middle one, right?
Then Nevada ran that idiot up on to testify at the hearing. He was like, "Well, he could have drank like a lot of water.
Yeah, he could have drank Lake Mead."
Didn't it happen with Shane against Antonio Margarito? Didn't that happen? Good. Wasn't that a part of Balco? His A came up positive, B came up negative, and then he ended up being the poster boy for Balco.
I I thought Barry Bonds was the poster boy.
Well, Shane was the boxing poster boy.
Hey, I saw this tweeted the other day by Victor Conte, and I forgot all about it. He came on the Sherdog Radio Network and raised some suspicions about John Jones 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's been vocal about that.
Yeah.
He's vocal about it on Twitter.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I had forgotten about that, and look what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Victor Conte's right. Want to give John Jones every chance? Well, I shouldn't want to give John Jones any more chances.
Well, now he has half a chance.
Well,
as far as this scenario goes, he's already lost the first half.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just, it is what it is, I guess. All right, I'm gonna go around the room one more time. Nobody's calling. I think you might be onto something, Gary. I think a lot of people are just honestly satisfied. Like it's over.
Oh, they're satisfied, man.
It delivered. So
it wasn't. It was good, not great. But the promotion was great. The fight was good. It was good. It was a good fight.
Bad stoppage. I'm sorry.
In boxing eyes, yeah, it's a good stoppage.
Sure.
It's a legit stoppage.
Sure.
His head was popping back, man. He was obviously getting concussed at that point. There was no point. But from an MMA perspective, these dudes actually go through that and come back from it. And that's just such a departure from how boxing fans look at someone that's hurt.
It's hard for me to see a guy like Pat Barry and Czech Congo both get brained and then Congo comes back to win. Let the man get knocked down. Honestly, that's what I think.
If Conor wanted to stay in the fight, he should have known it was a boxing match. He should have just taken it.
No, he should have just turned his back, and then the referee would have given him a separation and be like, "Hey, don't do that." And he could have done that 16 times. Then he could have sat down on a stool. What is that? Giving up your back.
That's I don't know. I guess
there's got to be a new name for that move.
I guess he was trying to incite a foul.
That was.
But I mean, I like how it took Bird until the 6th round to admonish Mayweather about that instead of saying something to McGregor every time Mayweather turned his back. I was a bit perplexed
Floyd was
by
coming in with his head down. He was coming in turtle shell stance, and he was I think he was setting Conor up to look like that. And I think it was just
a tactic.
I think it was like an unscripted storyline that was kind of starting to play out. Was that they were Conor it looked like Conor was being set up to look like he was making fouls.
You think he was trying to fish for that money?
I never saw Floyd do that before.
Yeah.
I can't go back and say I saw Floyd fight that style and do his head like that and turn around and do his butt like that. That's like Broner kind of stuff. Like Broner does stuff like that, but it was just weird.
There was a lot of talk about what would be in the contract as far as if a point was deducted or fouls and if Conor McGregor would have any pay withheld. If that was true, maybe Floyd was fishing for that. I don't know.
Listen, I mean, it didn't happen, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's kind of a moot point. But it was a strange storyline that ultimately started out with the ref and his pre-fight speech, and it just seemed like things were a little awkward, and it was coming from the boxing side, not from Conor's side.
I'm not going to grapple with you, Gary. I'm not going to wrestle with you.
I wouldn't even try to grapple with you, dude.
Oh, anybody could beat my ass right now. I'm so tired.
I would
so
hit you and run like as if we were just playing tag.
I'm tired.
Me and my dad bod would run about 30 feet and gas out.
Jordan Breen, final comments on Mayweather versus McGregor.
It's done. It's over. We can't wait for Mayweather to ride off into the sunset and give us the fight we really want. The real MMA versus boxing showdown. Conor McGregor and Paulie Malignaggi.
Oh, man. Is it going to happen?
In the octagon.
Probably.
In the octagon, you guys. It's
Team
going to
Tiger
happen. It's a bigger pay-per-view number in the octagon.
Will it be $100?
No. It'll be a UFC event. This was a Showtime production,
right?
And a Mayweather promotion.
But
I know Conor had his name attached to the promotion, but ultimately UFC had no shot in having anything to do with anything going on. And I think they were happy with that. I think they wanted that. But that's not what's going to happen if someone comes over to the UFC. That's a UFC production.
Gary, final thoughts.
I think it was good, not great. I'm totally satisfied. I'm actually happy for Conor. I think that he did nothing but gain fans and gain adoration tonight. I think that Floyd did what he said he would do in the end. He took him into the water. He looked good doing it when it ended. So kudos to him. He does kind of give something to his fans that wanted something like that from him. So I think it was kind of a win on that side for boxing fans. Boxing fans can live to breathe until a UFC champion does end up, in my opinion, inevitably one day, whether it's in 1 year, 5 years, 10 or 20, one day the skill level will be there on the MMA side. And, I think that we're just seeing the beginning of that. And I welcome the door that's now been opened and the opportunities that are ahead of us.
As you said on The Science of Violence, it's boxing evolved.
It's boxing evolved.
Anthony Walker, final thoughts.
I think final thought is just to appreciate it. Appreciate what we saw. We witnessed history. We witnessed something that I think we're going to feel the effects of this for years and years to come. This was history right here. The two, bastard cousins or bastard whatever relationship between boxing and MMA in some strange way was bridged, but in another strange way might have been divided just enough to make this sort of thing enticing, whether you're on one side of the fence or the other. So I loved it. I loved it. It made the horrific buildup worth it in the end. And I think Conor McGregor has cemented himself as an absolute legend, no matter whatever else happens in his career. And with that being said, can't wait for Struve versus Volkov now.
Oh, man. All right. Anthony Walker and Jordan Breen, you'll both be back on Wednesday's edition of the JBS. Actually, are you gonna be able to do that?
Yeah. I'll leave for Invicta right after that.
All right, sweet. I'll be at Invicta. I'll leave Monday. I think I may be doing a beatdown with Mike Fridley, depending on travel. Jordan Breen, we'll talk to you on Wednesday for sure. Thanks for everything, staying up late, recapping K1 Dynamite, and then of course tonight Mayweather versus McGregor. I appreciate you. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Peace, homies.
Big nog. Inside jokes. They're always fun. I'm really tired. I need to go. If you missed any part of this broadcast, all access panel at Sherdog.com, iTunes Music Store under podcasts. I should be back on Monday with another edition of Beatdown. Thank you again to everybody that supported the Javier Vasquez 24-hour marathon. Thanks for everything for the last 12 years that we've been on the air. It's been a lot of fun. Happy to be done tonight and gonna go to sleep. It's been real. You just got beat down after the bell on the Sherdog Radio Network.
Beatdown is a TJ DeSantis production and is property of the Sherdog Radio Network. Its content is intended for private use only.